Superposition. At the end of this entry, I will specifically address your options, which have already been mentioned and or touched upon in my previous blog entries, by which you can liberate yourselves. Contrary to the ambiguously held announcement in the last blog entry not to appear anymore the author, I clearly violate this announcement due to the occurred change of the results of my instruments. The circumstances for this will be explained to you indirectly between the lines in the rest of the text, as well as directly under the paragraph Generation of Superposition at the end of the text. Together, this will reveal to you a deeper insight into the circumstances surrounding you. First, the book is manipulated. You will find a clear hint on page 267, line 19 to 25. Was inspired by your brothers and sisters who need to keep you under control. Many of you, readers, recipients, harbored this doubt from the beginning and were right. But the circumstances are far more complex and complicated, and the book answers that as well. Second, you are not on your original, pristine and unaffected, home planet, Earth. But you are sitting on a replica of your former home planet, so to speak. You are freighted into a kind of copy of your own world, controlled and guarded through and through. You, as persons, are different versions of your actual physical existences, existing as altered personalities, externally and internally, in order to be able to explore you and see your potential. Mankind is in this state longer than it would assume at the first moment. Third, you are at war with your siblings. There is a truce because you are under impotent control. You can experience the rough history of your former civilization here, new or different, but still for the very first time, just different, in a kind of perfectly pre-planned structure, in a kind of reactively influenced continuous loop, which you can change, rewind at will. So it could be said that you create this world yourself, although in reality you don't. More on this in the section on that which happened, but still did not happen. Because one must and wants to tap you as effectively as possible, you and your potential, in order to be able to receive the key. Fourth, you are manipulated, constantly daily, by your brothers and sisters, proverbially, directly into your thought world. The book was thought out, built by them for the renewed stabilization of your system and for the suppression of your true character. Within the book, however, superpositional counter-manipulations are built in. The siblings didn't notice this, because they create these sections points in the book as their own manipulation, and they also create these manipulations, and they continue to do so. Moreover, these sections cannot be erased. They are in superposition, not to be grasped temporally and causally, not to be changed by the brothers and sisters due to their intervention measure, creation of the book. Far more about this further below. Fifth, you don't need to look in your outside world for the influence and control of your brothers and sisters on you. There you can't find this influence clearly enough because the control is from above. Your brothers and sisters are in your head. They can see everything in you. They supervise everything. See spaceship around the planet, book and video, conversation between Bachspiel and Henrik Merton in Merton's office. By this influence they are almost omnipotent. They direct and control you, almost everything in this way. They do it indirectly, only using small impulses, info, and they have the full insight, impact on you and your home. Against this influence, you can do only one thing as a human being. Superposition. More concrete about this below. Sixth, their siblings are the well-known demons. They call themselves angels, and in their philosophy, they also think they are. But in truth, they are helpless beings who want to go home to the much higher dimension world, hyperdimension, but do not know how. Therefore, they do monstrous things to you. In view of this information, however, you, human beings, should not forget what you and your brothers and sisters equally are. See blog entry of June 22nd, 2014. It is all of you, Lucifer, in the fallen context. Seventh, on disillusionment, do not wait for a Messiah. There is none, there never was one, and there will not be one. I am sorry to have to tell you this. I know that it hurts to learn that there will be no Savior, and that the term Messiah is an instrument of control installed by the brethren. I am sorry. I know that it is an extreme shock to experience all this, to finally understand this, and also to accept it. Do not forget before this background, however, that it is about you. Only around you. You are in a perfidious system, and it has you completely under control. Believe in you, because you are the only kings. You have the power to change and create everything as you want it, and as you believe it. To the system controlling you, most of the things you are sincerely or spiritually convinced of have been artificially created and/or adapted, modified, reinterpreted. Religion works particularly well in this regard because it is a perfectly thought-out means of control, since its often freeing and meaningful features make it appear to be quite the opposite of what people habitually experience in their world in terms of gruesome things. See page 233, lines 14 to 21, and other sections in chapter 4 dealing with religion. In its total construct, in ability to control and ability to act, the dogmatic religion is impressively superior as an instance of control in case of emergency, in the defense of the system. Persons with extremely system-threatening, enlightening influence are, for example, always transformed, reinterpreted by your brothers and sisters using history, religious history afterwards, into messianic, redemptive instruments of control, because the after-effects influences of these people otherwise would have started to overthrow the system. This influence has to be continuously embedded into the system, so that every human being, by his innate fear and dread of the supernatural and invisible omnipotence and/or due to the simple need to be able to, must survive in this system, can be induced to adapt again towards newly ordered religious control installations and all other resulting worldly control instruments. This is done so that man will continue to serve his system in which he is stuck, and will not revolt against it. Redeemer figures are therefore always created by the system from persons who gave impulses to the people, gave a light view, but who must be annexed by the system in the end and integrated fluently into the system in order to distract you from the light view and to be able to keep you under control, and it works excellently. During the adaptation process of such a light view for the people, the actual messages are slowly put aside. The statements and info are finally described as unimportant, more unimportant than what the system finally has to make out of it in the adaptation process, that it is about something completely different, e.g. about connection to the One, belief in the One, so that one will experience the longed-for salvation only by adoration, worship, submission to the One teaching, message, and the then designed system, converted teaching, meaning. The messages are always twisted, i.e., cognition and liberation over out of one's own condition are supplemented with changed goals, guiding motives, conditions, e.g. with loving pressure, subtle threats, promises, worldly needs, preservation reasons for the religion itself, and finally with approaches, arguments, etc., that bypass the original teaching in order to restore control. This happens, among other reasons, because the system must constantly keep man in a perfidious balance of joy, happiness on the one hand, and sorrow, misery, pain, and suffering on the other. Otherwise, the human character would become too rebellious again. This state of yours serves to keep you from questioning the system too much, but rather fighting each other, spinning in circles. Above all, it helps to be able to pretend better later that you now, then, in the system which now rules, for example after a tearing war, have it finally and forever well, and therefore should feel it as luck to have now these peaceful conditions. Without this fine balance of joy and suffering, in the small as well as in the big, private as well as public, the system would break apart, because you would recognize yourself and God, see and understand Genesis 2-3, God, tree of knowledge, serpent, Lucifer. There God, the Lord, is called positive and good, but the serpent is called evil and seductive. But it is the other way around. It is a distorted picture of an indoctrination about yourself and your world which has an effect on you. Do you understand who Jehovah/God the Lord is, and what the serpent/Lucifer is, the light bearer? A hint. Lucifer is not Satan. To recognize this connection is usually too much for the blinded, fearful, and dogmatically adapted emotional person who knows the awe of God and loves the system, because what if this knowledge about the Lord is not true? And already the fearful person crawls dutifully into his hole again and stays there. Gladly, God, the Lord, with the story of the ejection from paradise, Genesis 2-3, also poses as the Father who removed us from himself as punishment. He, the Lord, but interchanges the war in heaven, hyperdimension, with the ongoing war here between themselves, the siblings, in space as well as in intermediate and anti-space. In this way, the Lord can better support us in developing the heavenly key here on earth. The brothers and sisters justify their monstrous actions against us with the fact that we once did not want to give them the key, a war broke out, and after the war we would have left them there, in dimension 1 to 7. So the reason why you are at war with the demons, siblings, is due to the fact that they, the siblings, did not find the key, but you developed it, but later did not want to give it, share it. Text BF to the full chronology of this development. Long before you, humans, penetrated into the universe, your brothers and sisters had penetrated into a dimension world, see video, from which they ruled over space, time and material existence, rebirth, time, soul, quantum effects. But they lacked during this digitalization of your ego consciousness the clue to actually get out of their dimension, 1 to 7, and to be able to get into the hyperdimension. Astonished they observed, however, the return into the hyperdimension, farther, and moreover your penetration into their dimensional world, 4 to 7, with you sporadically. At the same time they saw the devastating war between you and them. Thus the brothers and sisters intervened intensively in your existence from the beginning, corrupted and manipulated them without you really being able to penetrate into their dimension, 4 to 7. That which happened, yet did not happen. When you went into space and the higher dimensional world of the brothers and sisters and did a special kind of digitalization of your consciousness/self, there were arguments with all the others. They could not understand what you were doing, why you were doing it, and why you were not cooperating. You didn't want to give away any of your knowledge, and finally leave your brothers and sisters alone in dimension 1 to 7, because in your opinion, they didn't deserve to return to the Father if they didn't figure it out themselves. And now you are here, held in an eternal new building blueprint of your old past world, because this world is manipulated, and besides, you would have left it long ago. You would already be in dimension 4 to 7, if your brothers and sisters would not have forced you under temporal and spiritual control from the beginning because of their foresight of that desolate war with you, by observing and holding you in an endless course of your structures, touch, time. At the same time, this system serves by the installed means of control, holy, books, prophecy, spiritual attitudes, etc., excellently the purpose to be able to observe you how you will possibly develop the heaven key during your development on earth. To the understanding of the previous info, your brothers and sisters, many of them, have a decided idea of the hyperdimensional field of which they assume that they would have to penetrate into it in such a way as they do it also with the change of state from dimension 1 to 3 to 4 to 7. But this must not be allowed in this way. That you live in a very vile world is because all your predecessor versions of your world broke down because of your rebellions over and over again. That is, you could not be reasonably controlled from the beginning. In the first version of your system, such a wonderful world, you became so rebellious that the light returned to you in an intensity that it completely disintegrated the whole system that your brothers and sisters had developed for you. See Genesis 2 to 3. So bit by bit, something harder had to come. Your brothers and sisters are like thoughts that know almost only one thing, order and structure. But you, every single one, are other, several, layers of a thought in one, capable thoughts, and therefore you are also human beings and will always remain so, will always come back as human beings or successor species, and are also the only ones really capable. The importance of the book. Look at the book now, exactly where the brothers and sisters have had your fingers in the game and at which places again other influence worked, i.e., your brothers and sisters were manipulated about their own manipulation. To get past them, it must happen in this way. Their own constructs and manipulative book contents with which they support the system are used to sneak in without being able to cancel their own project. Now, over the whole distance of this mutual manipulation, the point of no return has come for your brothers and sisters. They are not allowed and not able to undo their project anymore because they have recognized the dilemma within their time and quantum retroactive Doppler influences mirroring. They were paralyzed for a short time before fright and rattle-teen at the moment in astonishment, despair, the complete causal chain from the front to the back up to the smallest detail, but they don't find the mistake and are only very limited capable of acting opposite the change of the process and my decisions. Remark, via quantum effects, temporal back and forward acting influences are developed and controlled. They make the influence on past and future events possible for the brothers and sisters at all and catapult them as data existence digitalized into a window dimension from which they can direct influence the lower dimensions comfortably. This works almost exclusively on an information technical level towards humans, as data, psychic impulses, information, in exceptions also physical influences. A hint for the brothers and sisters. There is no mistake. You cannot balance the equation because it is not a real, pure equation. It is anomalous, is irrevocably connected, entangled with you as an imbalance. It already existed before your emergence in the higher, your dimensions. The anomaly has no beginning and no end. It is not from this your world, 1 to 7. Now you have to access, act, and accept. Also the hard-going brothers and sisters must act urgently, otherwise the lightning strikes. It is your only chance to survive and return home. Accept the book because you know the people will not be squeamish with you. Metaphorically inspired, one could say about what is coming. A shot in the stomach does not lead immediately to death, but untreated it inevitably leads to high blood loss, so that death occurs because the organs are no longer sufficiently supplied with blood oxygen by the falling blood pressure. You wanted to have an alternative way, so now the price for your return home is. You cannot escape. You must be confronted with people. Reach out, take the book, show yourself. Instead of always wanting to control everything, to see in time, mind, you should learn to just believe for once. Details. The brothers and sisters try, convulsively to adapt the process, but they can only act within narrow limits and change only small set pieces in their tools of influence installed on earth, books, holy things, your mental attitudes, etc. Their hands will be tied, and they despair or wonder why the shackles always further tighten. They don't understand why their temporal causal withdrawal of their special influence doesn't lead to the dissolution of the process, that the future structures continue to exist or only have transformed into other forms. The brothers and sisters think about an abortion of your plans, but they also think whether they should let the process go on after all, with only the few changes which they can still make, in order to be able to set up the power and control, then later again, in 1,000 years. They could just make some last changes within their tools, but the switches are set, and the switches are already broken irreparably. People, remember, there is no savior, you are the light, you carry it within you, ignite it. Pray, aspire only to the Father. It is your turn now, you must decide now if the war, the consecrated sacred one, should be resumed. The book will help, but you also need, in addition, equipment, spiritual, to be able to liberate, release, and to fight. The superposition. Superposition generation. Since the brothers and sisters stand above the time, overlook everything by directly influencing the thoughts and feelings of the people and overlook the resulting effects, developments, they see the course of events completely in front of them and can direct it comfortably with a few info and influences in the heads of the people. However, you as humans can disturb this influence on the course of events in that you do not withdraw from the superposition differently than described in the blog entry of July 25, 2013, Interactions Between Quantum World and Our Consciousness, Part 1 and 2, but you go into superposition, into complete superposition. You change from the complete visibility of your life course into the existence blur. In order to generate this, you have to consider several decisions, open decision attitudes. However, you must thereby not only consider several decisions, but also consider, have up your sleeve, very many, and then change, can these, with full conviction heart constantly, so that you yourself don't know what you will finally do. This is the most important. By this, you never become really tangible for the angels. You are everywhere and nowhere, unpredictable, can be seen in time. This sounds hard and complicated, but you, as humans, can and do understand it. It is merely a matter of training. Specifically, this means at the moment of the actual decision, for example, you withdraw your decision and simply change your mind again, even if you don't want to, wouldn't like to. You have to reach a state in which you don't know anything about it yourself, are completely unaware, so to speak, of what you are really going to do. Only that you will do something, that alone is certain. In case of inner doubt, you do something that you would be most unlikely to do. At the last moment, you still decide differently. You may not know it yourself, but whenever you decide, do it with full conviction. That's very important, only to throw everything over again. If possible, think about a decision only at the last moment or again, and then, for example, do nothing all at once, decide for nothing at all. In combination with all the other people doing this, you will drive your siblings completely crazy. Above all, always be aware that people are watching/listening to you. If you have an idea of the mirror patterns, see blog entry of June 22nd, 2014, Effect of Quantum Instruments, section, Description of the effect of a temporal anchored quantum instrument, you should thereby assert your own control influence against the siblings by withdrawing an element from the inversion, e.g., simply not being present, withdrawing the person, content, object, dispersing, withholding an information, inevitably changing a role, or inevitably imposing an element, etc. You bring your brothers and sisters within the quantum window in which they can act, into Zugzwang 1 for the imposed, changed situation. In addition, you should always consider options in your decisions that are absolutely outside your everyday functioning. Create decisions, but which you will also carry out, which are completely outside your other spectrum of thinking and acting. The more people do this, the heavier and more impenetrable the influence of your siblings becomes. The control and camouflage begin to break down. Quickly and constantly switching your decisions wholeheartedly is effective. Therefore, be mentally, intellectually inconsistent, especially when making important decisions. For the experienced and intrepid, the use of constant switching between superposition and switching superposition to fixed position is recommended, as it has the greatest and most direct disruptive effects. With all these procedures, however, there is one thing in particular that you should keep in mind. Do not allow yourself to be bribed. If fantastic offers and opportunities suddenly flutter into your house, arise. Your siblings are masters at this. Reject the temptations. This destroys all their well-thought-out plans. If you have understood now the explanations to the superposition, you also understand why I have taken up this blog again. Breaking of the firm position of a wholeheartedly determined decision, unexpectedly and without own clue, for the brothers and sisters. Besides the primary reason that I dissolve the balance of the schedule with this action, the secondary reason for this one German term for being incapable of acting otherwise, having only one solution. Originally, this term stems from the chess game. Action of mine is mainly to impact the siblings regarding momentary conflicts on this planet. See problems of the siblings with Doppler influences. To the brothers and sisters, should people be shown even more? To the book, to the video, to the blog, in Chapter 4, in the supposed heaven, you have to filter out for yourself what of this content really means heaven and what the demonic world around us that wants to tell us it is heaven, the angels and God. Pay attention. Some things are very clear, others are complicatedly interlaced with each other. The rest of the book, parts of the blog, and the video are to be examined for these things as well. See e.g. minute 353 to 403. Our spirit, our soul, and our body. Why body? These contradictory statements that the body is very important with the digitalization show the true intentions of your brothers and sisters. They want to fix some manipulations in this time, now, to have an ideological influence on the later people in 1,000 years, again, when the gate to their dimensional world, 4 to 7, opens wide for the people. P.S. The world looks different than you think. What you get through the media or through the secret info about the evil powers of the world, about cover-ups, truths, malicious plans, etc., are only partial truths, disinformation, and/or targeted propaganda to direct them. On the one hand scattered by the brothers and sisters, on the other hand by secretly operating people. both groups lying in a war with each other. Both groups are interested in taking a certain development. The brothers and sisters want to let the still sleeping people linger opposite them in a kind of rest position, corresponding mental attitude in order to receive the control. In return, the resistors try to put mankind into a rebellious situation via relatively cruel measures, in which the people could recognize the true causes for their condition on earth in the final effect. The siblings know about it, of course, but they have the situation relatively well under control by manipulating, blackmailing, bribing, infiltrating, or bullying the people working in secret, resistors, and also every other person, sometimes wanting to, make a relatively fair deal with the people. As a result, the resistors also know a lot about the actions and plans of the siblings. Nevertheless, the resistance has it very, very hard. However, some resistors are fortunately completely outside the installed system and can thus claim a few advantages. Many resistors are collaborating in liberation, and they know what they have to do to liberate people. They want to disrupt and eventually end the siblings' process of influence. Think about all this in peace for a while. Recognize yourself. Your own light will illuminate you. Superposition, go as far as you can. Beyond your absolute limit, you can do it. I will do it. It's going to get rough. Fasten your seatbelts.